Hello, my friends. Let me show you now how to show or hide things on your web page with Alpine.js. Please open the file xshowxif.html from your example files, as well here in the editor, but also in your web browser here. And please make sure that your live server is running with right click and open with live server. Okay, so now first let me show you what we want to achieve in the next few minutes. I have here opened the finished example file, and here you can see this button where it says show. Okay, so when I click on this button, then I have this gray text here on the right, and also the button changes to hide, and it also changes the button color. So when I click on hide, the text is gone again, and again this button will change to green and to the text show. Okay guys, let's do it. So I go back to the example file here, and here in your source code, please go where it says example1. And as you can see, here we have this span with bggrade 200. That is that text here that we want to show or hide. So please click with your mouse into the span directly behind the word span here. Let's give it a space, and then we add x show here. So I type x minus and then show, and then I hit the tab key. So again we have this structure that we have two double quotes here. And here within those double quotes, there will be the result of a logical expression. Or in other words, we will expect the key of an object here. For instance, we could say show text, okay? And if this show text is true, then the text will show. And if it is false, then the text will not show. Okay, so here in the example I named this key show, but I think show text is a better word for this key. So let's define this key now. So we go up here to our section and we insert xData here. Let's create an object with curly braces, and within this object we will have the key of show text, colon, and let's just set this to false for now. All right, let's save. And as you can see here, the text disappeared. If we set this to true, then the text is there again. But let's set it to a default of false. All right. I already will add a comma after this false here up here in the object, because we need more now, because we also want to change the button color and the button text. But before we change the styling of the button, let's make this button functional. So let's go to this button here in the HTML, and after the trailing n here, the last n of the button, we will add the following. Please type the @ sign and then click and then equals and then two double quotes. And this is a kind of event handler here for click, and here you can write within those double quotes what should happen actually when the button is clicked. And what we want to happen is that if this show text variable is set to false, we want to set it to true, and the other way around, if it is true, we want to set it to false, so we can toggle the visibility of our text here on the right. So there's a very common expression to do so, and this expression is show text equals the opposite of show text. Like this. You might know this exclamation mark notation. You might know this from other programming languages such as JavaScript, PHP, or others. It just means negate what comes behind. Do the opposite. Also, this is known as the not operator. Okay, let's try that out. Save. And then click on the button here. And the text is there. And now, if I click again, it disappears. It appears, disappears. Okay, it changes all the time. Okay. We will talk about this event handlers in the next lecture in more detail, by the way. Now in the next step, we want to make this button text dynamic here. So right now, this is just a static text here, which says show, but we want to make this dependent on the state of our variable show text. Okay? So this we can do with a so-called ternary expression. I will show you what that is. So please go here in this line after add click and so on. And I'm gonna make a line break here. And to make this text dynamic, I'm gonna use X text that we know already. So I'm gonna say X minus text like this. And now we insert that ternary expression like this. So we evaluate the status of show text. So we say like this. If show text is false, we do this with exclamation mark show text. Then, excuse me, here comes a question mark. So show text is false, question mark. Then please write show. So we do a single quote, show, single quote. Okay, again. If show text is false, question mark, then output show. Otherwise, and the otherwise we do with a colon, please output hide. Like this. This is a so-called ternary expression that you can also find in many programming languages, and it's a short form of if-else. All right, let's try it out. So I click on the button, and now the text is hide, because now show text is true. Then I click again on this hide button, and now it says show again. Okay, great. Now let's take care of the color. So let's have a look at those classes here that we have on the button. Those are typical Tailwind CSS classes. So for example, this transition here makes the transition a little bit smoother when I hover on it. And then we have a padding of 1, we have rounded corners, we have a little shadow, and focus or outline none. And after those classes, there comes the colors. So we have a BG Green 300 as a background color. And when we hover on the button, then we have a darker green, which is this BG Green 400 here. Okay? As you can see, it gets darker a little bit. So what I want to do now is that I cut out all the classes here that have nothing to do with the color. So I'm gonna cut out everything before this BG Green 300. So let's mark this with the mouse and say Command X to cut that out. Then let's go up here in our X data and we add another property, and this property has, for example, the key button classes, or let's say button class. It's a little shorter. And then we have two single quotes here, and within those two single quotes we paste in what we just cut out. And please don't forget that we need a space here in the end, because we will do a concatenation again. All right, let's save for the moment. And now let's go here into the class again. And again, we will use this ternary expression here that we had used up here. So first the first thing that I'm going to do is that I bind this class. So I put a colon in front of the class. We know that already. And then we will evaluate again a ternary expression. And it will be very, very similar to what we did up here with the X text. Let's maybe just copy this. Let's just copy this. So I'm gonna cut that. No, I'm not cutting it out. I'm gonna copy it, this ternary expression. So Command C and put it here before this BG Green 300. Okay. Now, what do we want to have? We want to have a green color when we have the show text. So instead of show here, I'm gonna use this here, this BG Green 300 and BG Green 400 on hover. So let's cut that out, Command X, and put it here instead of the show. So I paste it in here again. And then here where it says hide, I also will paste it in again. Let's delete this and let's paste it in again. But now instead of BG Green 300, I say BG Red 300. Like this. And also on hover BG Red 400. Let's save. Let's try it out. So I click on it and it gets red. Okay, and it also has the red hover. But as you can see, there is some classes missing. That's why the button now looks so ugly. And that's because those classes up here are missing. So we have to concatenate again. So I go here. So in front of this BG Green 300 here, after the question mark, and I add this button class here by saying button class, and then I concatenate with a plus sign, okay, like this. And the same thing we do in the case that the button is red. So after the colon, again, I'm gonna write button class and then plus those red classes. Let's save. And now the button looks good again. Okay, it's getting red, it's getting green. Great. So this example now is finished. Now I want to do the next example, which goes with XIF, excuse me. So XIF is very, very similar to XShow, but it has a difference which I will show you after we implemented it. So what we can do now is that we copy the complete first example from up here down here into example 2, and then we just replace XShow with XIF. So please do like I do it now. We don't copy everything, we will copy the complete button here, and also we will copy the beginning section tag here with this X data definition. This is what we're going to copy. Copy. Now let's go down to example 2 here. And here we have the beginning section tag. And here we have the button. I'm gonna mark this with my mouse. And then I'm saying Command V to insert the stuff from example 1. Okay. And here we have this span that we want to show or hide. Okay. Right now, let's see where we are. Well, the button already changes, but this won't change yet. Okay. So this is clear because we don't have the X show here anymore. But we are not going to use X show. Instead, we are going to use X if. So there is one big difference in the implementation between X if and X show. The X if you don't use on the element directly. What you need is a so-called template tag. So let's go here behind the button and hit enter, and then we will have a template tag. So I'm gonna type template and I hit the tab key. Oh, sorry. Doesn't work like this. Let's just write a normal template tag like this. And then when we close here, then we have this template tag. Okay, like this. And within this template tag now goes our span. So we move it up here within this template tag. Okay. And now on this template tag, here we can implement X if. So I go behind the word template in the starting tag here, and I say X minus if, and then tab. Okay, so now what we use within those two double quotes will be exactly the same that we used up here when we used X show. And that was just the condition that show text is true. So I'm gonna copy this show text and bring it down here and insert it. Show text. Okay. Now let's try it out. I saved already. Let's click on show and the text is there. I click on hide and the text is gone again. All right. So now you probably want to know what is the difference between X show and XX if. Sorry, I keep on saying X because in German, in my mother language, the X is X. So I'm sorry about that, but I hope you understand me. Okay, so let's open this window here. And I want to use the inspector tools now. So I do a right click and I say, I open this Google Chrome inspector tool. Okay, let's move this together a little bit. What I want to observe now is what will happen when I show and hide elements. Now let's click on the first show button here. And then let's observe this div here, this span here, on the right. Let's check that out. And here we see this span here. So now let's have a look what happens when we click on hide. So what we can see here, that now our span has a style of display none. So that is what's happening with X show, and the show is turned to off. Let's click on show again, and the span is there, but the display none is not there anymore. So that is all about X show. But now let's do the same thing with our second example. So I'm gonna show the span, and I'll observe it here on the right. Here is the span, okay, and you see this template here above also. So now let's see what happens when I click on hide. And what you see is that the complete span is gone now. That's the big difference. Okay, I go on show again, and the span is there, here. Okay, then I go on hide, and it completely disappears. So that's the big difference when you use X if the element is removed from the DOM. If you use X show, it's not removed. It is just given a display of none. So you might ask yourself, what's the big deal about this? Why do you have two different ways of showing and hiding things? But soon we will make an example where it actually really makes sense to completely remove something from the DOM. Okay, we will do this soon in this course. Okay guys, that's it for this lecture. In the next lecture, we will talk about these events, like for example this click event here. We will talk about this in more detail. There's not only a click event, there's also other events, like for example mouse enter, mouse leave, or click away, or also key up, or stuff like that. Okay, see you in the next lecture.